welcome to the City of English.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the City of English. I'm Anna.
And I'm Jason. Anna, I have a confession to make before we even start today's episode.
Uh-oh, that sounds serious. What happened?
Well, I set my alarm for 6 a.m. this morning. I wanted to go for a run before work.
Okay, and?
And I hit snooze 4 times. 4. By the time I actually got up, it was almost 7:30.
Jason, that is the most relatable story I've heard all week. Honestly, I think every single person listening right now is nodding along.
Exactly, and that's why today's topic is perfect. We're talking about self-discipline for success.
Yes, this is something so many of us struggle with, whether it's waking up early, studying English every day, going to the gym, or just finishing the tasks we promised ourselves we'd finish.
So today, we're going to dig deep into what self-discipline really means, why it's so hard to build, and, most importantly, simple, practical ways you can strengthen it in your own life.
And of course, along the way, we'll pick up some great vocabulary and grammar you can use in real conversations. So grab your coffee, get comfortable, and let's get started.
So, Anna, let's start with the basics. How would you actually define self-discipline?
Great question. I think self-discipline is simply the ability to control your actions and stick to your decisions, even when you don't feel like it.
Even when you don't feel like it. That's the key part, right? Because when we feel motivated, doing hard things is easy.
Exactly. Motivation is like a spark. It's exciting, but it doesn't last very long. Self-discipline is more like a steady flame. It keeps burning even when the excitement fades.
That's a beautiful way to put it. I actually read somewhere that discipline is choosing between what you want now and what you want most.
Ooh, I love that. Can you give us an example?
Sure. Imagine you're learning English, like our listeners are doing right now. What you want now might be to relax, watch a show, scroll through your phone.
But what you want most is to speak English fluently, get a better job, or move abroad.
Exactly. Self-discipline is choosing that second thing again and again, even on the days when you're tired.
That really resonates with me. I think a lot of people believe successful people are just naturally disciplined, like they were born that way.
Right, but that's actually a myth. Discipline is a skill. It's something you build through practice, just like a muscle.
So the more you practice small acts of discipline, the stronger it gets.
Precisely. And that leads us perfectly into our first vocabulary spotlight.
Let's highlight 3 words from what we just said.
First word, spark. As a noun, a spark is a small flash, but we also use it to talk about a small amount of excitement or motivation. Example, reading that book gave me a spark of inspiration.
Second word, fade. This is a verb that means to slowly disappear or become weaker. Example, my motivation to exercise faded after the first week.
And third, resonate. This means something feels true to you or meaningful personally. Example, her story really resonated with me because I faced the same struggle.
Try using one of these words in a sentence about your own life. Pause the podcast for 10 seconds and say it out loud.
Okay, so if discipline is a skill we can build, why does it feel so incredibly hard sometimes?
I think it comes down to our brains preferring comfort over challenge. Our minds are wired to avoid discomfort, so when something feels difficult or boring, we naturally want to escape it.
That explains why it's so easy to pick up your phone instead of opening a textbook.
Exactly. The phone gives you instant pleasure. Studying gives you a reward, but much, much later.
So basically, we're fighting against instant gratification.
Yes, and that's a real scientific pattern. Humans generally prefer smaller rewards now over bigger rewards later, even when the bigger reward is clearly better for us long term.
Wow, so it's not that we're lazy, it's that our brains are just doing what they're designed to do.
Right, and understanding that actually takes away a lot of guilt. You're not weak, you're human.
I love that reframe. So instead of blaming ourselves, we should focus on building systems that make discipline easier.
Exactly, and that's what we'll talk about next, some real practical strategies.
Time for a quick grammar tip. Anna, did you notice we used a lot of comparative structures in that last part?
I did, like much, much later and bigger reward.
Right. When we want to emphasize a comparison, we can repeat the adverb for extra strength. Much, much later. Very, very difficult.
And remember, for short adjectives, we simply add er. Bigger, faster, stronger. For longer adjectives, we use more difficult, more comfortable. Try it yourself. Describe your motivation this morning compared to your motivation right now using a comparative structure. All right, let's get practical. Jason, what's one strategy that has personally helped you build more discipline?
Honestly, the biggest one for me was starting incredibly small. Instead of saying, I'll study English for 1 hour every day, I started with just 5 minutes.
5 minutes? That seems almost too easy.
That's the whole point. When the task feels tiny, your brain doesn't resist it. And once you start, you often keep going longer than 5 minutes anyway.
That's such a smart trick. I use something similar. I call it never miss twice. If I skip a day of practice, that's okay. Life happens. But I never allow myself to skip 2 days in a row.
That's brilliant because 1 missed day is just a pause. 2 missed days can quietly turn into a habit of quitting.
Exactly. Another powerful tool is removing friction. If you want to read every morning, put the book right next to your bed the night before.
And if you want to avoid distractions while studying, put your phone in another room.
Basically, make good habits easy and bad habits difficult.
I also think having a clear why matters enormously. When you know exactly why you're learning English, maybe for a new job, to travel, or to talk with new friends, the discomfort feels worth it.
Absolutely. Discipline becomes so much lighter when it's connected to a real purpose, not just a random rule you're forcing on yourself.
And finally, don't underestimate the power of tracking progress. Something as simple as marking an X on a calendar every day you complete your goal can be incredibly motivating.
It gives you visible proof that you're becoming the kind of person who follows through.
Let's grab a few more useful words from that conversation.
First, friction. Normally a physics word, but here it means anything that makes an action harder to do. Example, turning off notifications removes friction from focusing on work.
Next, underestimate, meaning to think something is less important or powerful than it truly is. Example, never underestimate the power of a good night's sleep.
And finally, follow through. A phrasal verb meaning to complete something you started or promised. Example, she said she'd call and she actually followed through.
Great words for describing goals and habits in daily conversation.
Before we wrap up, I want to share a quick real-life example. I once have a listener, well, actually a friend, who wanted to learn English fluently but always felt too busy.
A very common story.
Right. Instead of giving up, she decided to listen to just one short podcast episode every day during her commute. Nothing extra, no pressure, just that one small action.
Let me guess, after a few months, something changed?
Exactly. After 6 months, she wasn't just understanding more English, she was thinking in English during parts of her day. And it all started with one tiny, disciplined habit repeated consistently.
That's honestly such a powerful reminder. Big results almost never come from one huge effort. They come from small, boring, consistent actions.
Consistency truly beats intensity every single time.
Okay, everyone, here's your challenge for this week.
Choose one small habit related to learning English, maybe 5 minutes of listening, 3 new vocabulary words, or 1 sentence written in English.
Commit to doing it every single day this week, no matter how small it feels.
And remember our rule, never miss twice. If you skip a day, that's okay. Just don't skip 2 in a row.
Tell us in the comments how it goes. We genuinely love hearing your stories.
So, to sum up today's episode, self-discipline isn't about being perfect. It's about choosing what you want most, even on days when you don't feel like it.
Start small, remove friction, track your progress, and always remember your why.
You don't need to transform your entire life overnight. You just need one small, disciplined step repeated again and again.
That's it for today's episode of The City of English.
If this episode helped you, please hit subscribe, leave us a comment, and share it with a friend who's also learning English.
We'll see you in the next episode. Until then,
Keep learning, keep growing, and stay disciplined.